You mothers be having the worst sons in the world. They don't be worth shit. You hear me? The only thing they own is the mattress in your basement. And you mothers be acting like these ninjas be everything. You hear me? It be funny to me how these women be pretending. Like, I love you women who be like, my son ain't shit. Tread lightly. Move with caution. My son ain't shit. And remember, if you dealing with him, always put yourself first, please. The women or the actual food, Nate chimed in. Grimey's that nigga that goes to Japan and eats lunch and dinner at McDonald's every day. Grimey confirmed this conjecture with a nod and added, breathless too. You've been around the world 3 times over, Lamont said, shaking his head. But you are one local mother hunchy. Seriously, kid, you need to educate your palate in more ways than one. Grimey looked lost. Educate his what? He leaned back into a booth as a flamboyantly dressed man pranced by as if the outfit itself were contagious. Lamont threw his arms around Grimey's shoulder and pulled him in closer. You want to know the best thing about all these white women in here? Lamont scanned the room and cackled at the punchline before he even delivered it. None of them want to marry us. A spontaneous burst of laughter rang out from the table. I'm sorry, Witchy ain't right there. Witchy is right there. Witchy, you know your mama is a white woman? And you gonna let these niggas talk about your white woman? You ain't even gonna say, hey. They might want Ivy League Nathaniel with his lawyer ass, but they don't want any hip-hop ninja like us, Lamont said, conveniently groping himself. A college graduate who had been raised in a stable 2-parent household into the same demographic as Grimey. A fatherless child raised on welfare who'd received his high school equivalency in a juvenile lockdown facility. Lamont yoked Grimey around the neck, then released him. I could pick any one of these white girls in here and decide to make her my girlfriend. He snapped his stubby fingers and waved dismissively. Send her flowers, take her out, buy her expensive shiz, play the game. But if I really did love her and wanted to marry her, you think she would? She would if she was some broad who didn't have shiz because I might be a ninja. But Lamont grinned and tapped his chest proudly. I'm a rich, entrepreneurial ninja. You feel me? Nate joked before going over to schmooze with some industry folks. He'd heard Monty talk this bullshit before. So had Witchy and Darryl, who were now trying to molest a girl who'd passed by the table wearing a metallic tube top. But Grimey cocked his head all ears. Grimes, you're famous, but you're still a ninja from the absolute effing gutter. Grimey took that as a compliment. You're letting these suburban kids know what it's like down there. You're letting them safely experience that. That's the beauty of Grimey. Grimey basked in the praise. But you probably couldn't even marry a minimum wage white girl. Lamont howled with glee. Grimey didn't. Unless she really effing hated her parents. True, Grimey mumbled. True. But these women in here, they're educated. They have their own careers, Lamont rambled. These women can meet and marry a Wall Street guy. They all want rich men, but a rich white guy is their first choice. But they want to screw us for the thrill of it. They want to go to the dark side, Lamont said, wiggling his eyebrows, and have a story to tell. Or a story just to keep to themselves. He took a big gulp of water and held his fists out to Grimey. Who am I to deny them? So pause. So I be watching TikTok sometimes, right? And it be too much going on in TikTok. I can't lie. I don't know girl, it's like hitting the remote in 1978. You have no clue what is next on the television. It's just the ridiculousness of it all. But anyway, let me tell you something that took me by quite surprise. It was like these African men, and I don't even know if that's not a scam, but it was like these African men hanging around a playground. And they all had their cameras strategically placed in front of them. Like you would see an African guy over there, over here, back there, looking in the camera saying, yeah, you want me to do 3 pull-ups? Yeah, I'll do 3 pull-ups. Just drop something in my Cash App. I'll do it for you. Oh, and then the other guys, they're talking to the cameras too. Baby, and some just said, look in the comments. Baby, when I looked in the comments, it was full of white women. White women. I said, ain't this a beach? So it's not a lie about the fact that I believe black men are a white woman's fantasy. But I also believe that white men are black women's fantasy. Y'all don't remember Scandal? Y'all don't remember when Olivia Pope was hunching the president in the closet over there at the White House? Grimy distractedly pounded Lamont's fist with his own while his eyes wandered towards the woman in pink sitting at her table, laughing. She was sitting with 2 other women and a gray-haired man. Who's that guy? Grimy asked. Lamont squinted in the table's direction and watched as the woman, possibly named Amy, kissed Gustave, his partner in swirl, full on the mouth. Now he remembered where he knew her from. Gustave spotted Lamont and waved. Returning the wave, Lamont casually told Grimy, her husband. So the white woman that was in the bathroom sucking on Lamont is married to a man named Gustave. And Gustave and Lamont are associates. See, God gonna get you. But you could say no. No, I know your husband. You a disgusting bitch. Get away from me. Grimy watched this exchange, then eyes twinkled, asked, Lamont, you know him? Sort of, Lamont said. Grimy ogled the couple, thinking Lamont is the pimp of the century. No. He keep messing around. He gonna end up on trial like that daggone Diddy. So Lamont said, nudging his cash cow in the ribs to pull his attention back to important matters. How's the album coming? Vernetta Lee Jackson took a seat in the cozy breakfast nook of her apartment on the 23rd floor of the Trump International Tower on Central Park West. As she sipped her Earl Grey tea, she wondered what she was going to do about her 2 boys. One was married, the other needed to be. Both were problems. She looked at the grandfather clock in her exquisitely furnished living room. It was 11:30. Vanessa was half an hour late and she had not called. Unbelievably rude. Mama Jackson had called a meeting with her daughter-in-law so they could discuss schools for her grandson. Okay, this is Lamont's and Vanessa's husband. I can't remember his name, but this is Lamont and Vanessa's husband's mother. Vanessa, who was probably at home still in bed sleeping off a late night, wouldn't bother. Alonzo, that's the brother's name, Alonzo, Vanessa's husband, was 34, and Lamont Jr. was almost 39. But they were still boys to her, and they always would be. Ooh, this is probably based on Puffy's mammy. Ooh, let's read on. Whenever she heard other parents say they loved all their children the same, she wondered if they were being truthful or just saying what needed to be said. Mama Jackson had said the same thing many times herself, but she wasn't being truthful. She played favorites, but kept it to herself. They all do. It wasn't just that Lamont was her first. He was bright and funny as a baby. Walking at 9 months, Alonzo was still crawling on his first birthday. And talking a few months later, It took Alonzo so long to utter a word she feared he might be retarded. Hey, pull back. Pull back, you're a little rough. It took Alonzo so long to utter a word she feared he might be special. Lamont's second word after mama, of course, was gimme. Mama Jackson thought of that now and laughed to herself. Gimme should have been his middle name instead of Lavelle. That inborn desire to possess things had served him well. He was bagging groceries at Key Food on weekends, making $40 pocket change by age 10. He always knew how to get his hustle on. He was a good student and kept out of trouble, which took good negotiating skills living in Bed-Stuy, but he was also a big kid who didn't allow anyone to push him around. She wished she could have given her kids everything, but it was a financial impossibility. Her husband was always spending what little extra income they had on card games and the like. But Lamont Sr. was a decent man, and he came home to her every night, which was a lot more than some women could say. She had put herself through nursing school at night while working at a hospital more during the day. She just had done clerical work, but the aura of death had gotten to her. After a while, she wanted to move upstairs where people still had a chance at life. No one in her family had ever gone on to higher education. Getting her nursing degree had been the biggest achievement of her life after giving birth to her 2 boys. But she wanted more for her children. She hoped she'd be able to send them to prestigious colleges so they could realize their dreams. She'd gotten Lamont information on the best private school and hoped he could get some student loans, but he decided to go to City College and save her the worry. He was always so thoughtful like that. Now look at him. Lamont had become a successful far and above anything she had ever dreamed possible. Knowing his love of money, she had hoped he might become a bank manager or an accountant. A suit and tie ninja. That would have put her over the moon. When he had told her he was going to pursue a career in the music industry, she was now ashamed to admit she hadn't had much faith that he could succeed. But she'd preyed on it. He threw parties during college, but she figured that was just a temporary way to make money. She'd considered starting a hip-hop label, a risky proposition. Whoever thought of owning something, being his own boss, and all that? But if anyone could do it, Lamont could. He made some missteps in the beginning, but she encouraged him to stay the course. Baby, you'll be the next Berry Gordy, she'd reassured him when he doubted himself. And that's just what he had become. The hip-hop Berry Gordy, an Armani suit and tie ninja. God was good. Yes, he was. Girl, and all the while he in the bathroom having some man's wife suck on him in the bathroom stall. Child, yeah, okay. Lamont had told her she could quit working at the hospital once he incorporated Triple Large. She didn't mind the hospital, although she still never went to P. Diddy's Labor Day all-white parties in the Hamptons because it reminded her too much of the life she left behind. But after working on her feet for over 25 years, she'd often get shooting pains up and down her legs. Lamont took care of that too. He found her the best reflexologist in the city, and sure enough, that wonderful man soothed away all the pains. Thank goodness her ex-husband was too old and infirm to spend Lamont's money, or he'd been in Vegas right now hollering, "Let it ride." But then they had Alonzo to carry on that legacy. Mama gazed out the window at the treetops of Central Park and shook her head in disgust. While she had to admit that Lamont had looked like a brown gerbil as a baby, Lamont could have been on the side of the pamper box. He was so cute. She'd wanted to get Alonzo into that, doing modeling or commercials when he was younger, but she didn't have the time and wouldn't have known where to start, even if she did. And where have those good looks gotten Alonzo? She wondered sadly. Lamont had taken care of his baby brother, and Alonzo should have been a lot more grateful than he was. After squeaking through high school, being fired from several low-wage jobs, getting arrested twice for drug possession, no convictions, praise Jesus, and 4 DUIs, which got his license revoked. Mama was tired of bailing the boy out, but she couldn't blame him. He was feeble-minded and completely unfocused, not in any way mean-spirited or harmful. He was a failure. Her failure, she felt. That's why Vanessa be getting over on his ass. That's why she don't respect him. Vanessa be getting over on him because she know he's slow. At some point, she had stopped hoping that Alonzo would turn over a new leaf and focus on something besides partying and gambling. He was still running off all the time to Vegas or the nearest casino. He thought she didn't know, but she just thanked Jesus Christ, her Lord and Savior, that he wasn't dead or in jail. Some of you ladies know that these children be ADHD too. And and y'all sit there and y'all just let it happen. Y'all don't take him to a doctor. You don't never say, why in the hell is this boy all over the place? Why he can't focus when he go to school? Y'all just let it go. Please, Lord, let some other woman come in here and take this boy, because I can't do it by myself. I'm tired of doing it. Let him fall in love with some dumb bitch so she can go on and take his ass. Now, Alonzo was married to this hot tamale who ran through his money as quickly as a woman walking barefoot over hot coals. Not a shocker that they had eloped. Mama would have been there to raise her hand when it was time for objections to be made known. But Vanessa had trapped him. Mama hadn't even believed the girl was pregnant until she'd started showing. Pause. You mothers be having the worst sons in the world. They don't be worth shit. You hear me? The only thing they own is the mattress in your basement. And you mothers be acting like these ninjas be everything. You hear me? It be funny to me how these women be pretending. Like, I love you women who be like, my son ain't shit. Tread lightly. Move with caution. My son ain't shit. And remember, if you dealing with him, always put yourself first, please. Women forget to do that. You must do that. But this one, Puffy's mammy. Vanessa looked ravishing even in her 9th month. No swollen feet or face, just a perfect little bulge at the center of her perfect little body. Mama hadn't liked Vanessa from the word go. It was clear that Vanessa didn't care for regular black people, just the really good-looking, rich or famous members of the race. Lamont and Alonzo passed muster, but get her around some folks. And she looked as if she was about to break out in hives. In Mama's hood, blacks and Latinos were two peacefully coexisting tribes. Apparently, things went down differently in Venezuela. But it was after showing newborn Pedro off at the hospital, saying over and over with obvious relief, he's so light, that Vanessa had zoomed to the top of Mama's shiz list. A creamy, dark chocolate woman. Vernetta Lee Jackson never let anyone run that light-skinned, dark-skinned nonsense on her. A Mama Jackson truism. Let one person make you feel like less, and that's how the next person will treat you. Vernetta was never a truthfully beautiful woman, but she'd always carried herself as if she was. The truth was she looked better now than she ever had. Pilates had toned her full figure, and regular oxygen facials kept her skin supple and nearly unlined. It was a point of pride with her that she'd never had plastic surgery, so she freely owned up to her real age of 64 and always reminded folks, black don't crack, when they commented on her youthful appearance. Her appearance was something she'd always kept up, even when she had only a few dollars to spare. She'd bought discount at Loman's, painted her own nails and toes, and had her hair pressed every week at Buckshot's Shorties on Gates Avenue. That was back in the day. It had taken her a minute to get into the groove of spending serious money and triple large, as she liked to joke. But she'd found her footing. Now she shopped Galeries Lafayette in Paris and Bergdorf's when she was in New York. Had a standing Monday appointment at Georgette Klinger for a full day of beauty treatments and her wigs custom made. All thanks to her darling Lamont. Mama checked the time again. Now Vanessa was 50 minutes late. The unmitigated gall. She wanted to wring that girl's neck sometimes. No, most of the times. But she sighed. As much as she disliked the uppity little hussy, Mama had to count her blessings because Vanessa had turned her into a grandmother. Mama called her grandson PJ, as in Pedro Jackson, just to spite Vanessa and remind her that Jackson might not be her last name, but it was the name of her half-black son, and it would be the surname of Miss De La Cruz's grandkids one day too. And Mama had to admit that marriage had had a calming effect on Alonzo. He still wasn't doing much at the company, but he'd stopped carousing and getting into bar brawls. He loved being a father and was much better at parenting than Vanessa ever cared to be. But he let his mujer punk his ass on the regular. Whatever Vanessa wanted, Vanessa got.